Hi everyone, Postmatch blog here for Scotland Croatia game. Big disappointment, obviously. Really tough one to take when you get close. All you need is a win. Sorry, could have been better pressing, shutting down Modric. I think that's where we failed there. Doing a job on Modric like England done in the first game. Really let them have a free rein in a way. A lot of people on the forum that I go on the Top Army message board, have all come out with these theories after the match and on who the side should have been before the match leading up to it. Everyone's like, yeah, good side, yeah, that's how we play. And then all of a sudden, when the result doesn't go their way, all of a sudden there's all these other players that they put in the side in front of them. Doesn't work like that. You pick your side, your best side, doesn't do the business. The fact of the matter is they were playing Croatia, who are World Cup runners up. I mean, they're not World Cup runners up for nothing. We're in a group with World Cup runners up, England World Cup semi-finalists, and Czech Republic, who are ranked above us as well. So we finished with a ranking suggested we'd finish. I know it's disappointing and all that and hard to take, but when I'm thinking back now, is it any more disappointing than the 1999-1998 World Cup? No, I'd say certainly not. If you think back to the 1998 World Cup, in our group we had Brazil. Brazil certainly won world champions then, if I remember rightly, or even world finalists from the previous tournament, like Croatia were in this group. We had Norway. Norway were nowhere near World Cup semi-finalists like England were. So this is a tougher group than we had. And the last time we got there, and we flopped just as much. We only picked up a point in the last World Cup. I know we scored two goals compared to one this time, but we had an easier group. So obviously, I can't remember exactly back to what the reaction was like in 1998. But for me, getting there was a big feat in itself, and you can't take too much away from that. The fact of getting there, all right, we didn't do the business last night against Croatia, but to expect them to do the business is just expecting too much, really. Croatia have got world-class midfielder and Modric, and world-class striker as well. Scotland, we don't have that at the moment. We might have one in the pipeline with Billy Gilmore in terms of the midfield. But in terms of up front, we're still searching for that person, that elusive striker, somebody like Gareth Bale or something that Wales have got. That's the difference between us and Wales, why Wales are getting there and they're getting through the group stages, because we don't have a striker. It's always been a problem with Scotland through the years, really. You might say it's excuses and all of that, but we've always had some areas that were really strong at, but at the same time were weak in another area. At the moment, it's strikers that we haven't got. The strikers are just not up. They might be. Che Adams might be through time. I'm not sure about Dykes being up to international standards, but he might be as well. It's just that they were two pretty inexperienced strikers that we're relying on to get us the goals. Didn't happen, and what happens basically. I mean, I don't know. I don't need to look back on the stats on the group, but I think I would be quite confident in saying we probably had the most shots on goal out of all the four teams that were in the group. I know you don't get nothing for shots and goals in the back of the net, but that shows that we're doing something right to get into positions to be able to have shots. So I don't think there's really too much wrong. It's just a matter of getting strikers that can put the ball in the back of the net. Obviously, stopping goals as well. Like that was a big thing. If you look at two of the goals that we conceded in the tournament, they're from headers. One in the Czech Republic game and the one last night that made it 3-1. So we've got to tighten up those sorts of things there going on forward into the World Cup. I mean, can't grumble about last night. They were just a better team. They were far the better team. They had, I would say, it was like almost like a mirror to the England game. The England game, we got everything spot on tactically. Last night we didn't. I mean, we should have been shutting down Modric. I did say on my pre-match blog that that's what they had to do, was shut down Modric. He didn't do it. He left them to rule the roost in midfield, and that was a catalyst to us getting beaten. I mean, he was pulling all our strings. I mean, there was a few things that I noticed that I thought was off when I was watching it. Like Tierney seemed a little bit flat. Might be in the niggle that he's still carrying through, obviously, and they played them regardless. The team felt sort of like, well, obviously, I think it was due to the fact as well that Croatia were pinging the ball around and our players were chasing shadows for a lot of the time. Considering how much we put into the game against England to get a draw out of it, then fatigue was always going to play a part at some point. I know a lot of people are saying afterwards, it's all right to be smart after the fact. Everyone that I know of were all saying, yeah, Adams and Dykes up front. Now, if you had have went with, now after we've got beaten, everyone was saying like, well, they should have played with Adams and Ryan Christie or Ryan Fraser up front with them. That's all fairly well saying that after the game, but that wasn't what everyone was saying before the game, if you see what I mean. And if he had have done, he would have got slated for being too negative playing playing one striker instead of two, because Christie and Fraser, to anyone who's watching, who's English, you might be watching or whatever, Ryan Christie and Ryan Fraser, they aren't strikers, they're attacking midfielders who link up with the lone striker, if you see what I mean. That's probably been our way of getting the best return the goals from strikers and setting and being of value to us. I mean, if you think back to the goal we got in Serbia, that was Dyke setting up. I think he set through Ryan Christie. There was a game, I think, might be in the semi-final game when we scored against Israel. I think that was the same. It was Dykes, but this time setting up Ryan Fraser. So that may have been the way to get the best out of the strike partnership. It's all very well saying that after the game. You know what I mean? I'm not one of those that likes to be smart after the event, if you see what I mean. Before the game, everyone was saying, yeah, that's a good side, yeah. Obviously, one or two people were saying, I wouldn't have Armstrong and they would have played maybe somebody else, which is fair enough. But yeah, well, it's not rocket science, so is it, Neil? I mean, at the end of the day, Croatia were World Cup finalists. We didn't even qualify for the last World Cup. So to expect us to walk up there and put in our performance that was going to see us winning is a bit fanciful, really. Obviously, it's 11 versus 11 on the day, but then you need things to go your way, and everybody to do their job and have a plan and everything like that works. We just didn't have that last night. Like we had it against England, but we didn't have it against Croatia. We let Modric rule the midfield. We probably started with, in hindsight, we probably did start with wrong formation. But as I say, if you'd have done it any differently, you would have got slated for it. So, I mean, some people are a little bit OTT today. I know they're all upset about saying things like sack Steve Clark. But I'm sorry, folks, but we wouldn't have even got to anybody this tournament if it hadn't been for Steve Clark. So I don't see where people are coming with that one for a start. I mean, as I say, what I take from it is, I mean, you're getting other people coming out saying, same old Scotland, but I don't buy into that. If I could go back into our last time we qualified, I'll lay a bet we want the top team in the group for having the most shots on goal, for example, which we probably have in this group. I mean, I know we had more shots on goal than England against England. We certainly had more shots on goal than than the Czech Republic. And I think last night we were level 11-11 against Croatia. Oh yeah, obviously we needed to get something out of the Czech Republic game. That goes without saying, really. Obviously we still had a chance once we got the point out of the England game. But I think obviously the aside from us, the weakest team after that we've been looking to get something was the Czech Republic. But the Czech Republic, it's got to be said, they're not mugs. There's certainly no pushovers, as England found out last night. It was only 1-0 to England last night. So with us, the goals just came at really unfortunate times in that game. We had the goal came sort of like, I don't know when it was, it's like in the period running up to half time, went a goal down, it's a bad time to concede. And then the second goal that they got was a real sore one to take because it was all right, it was a fantastic finish and all of that, but it came from us being on the attack, and we're really putting the pressure on in that game. And then a ricochet off your defender fell to one of their strikers and he hit a wonder goal. So it's really unfortunate. That's just the way it happens, really. Fact is, we didn't take our chances when they came our way, and you can't be successful at this level where we are now, major tournaments, and hope to win games. It will get you through certain games, like against lesser countries. That's how we managed to get here, but it won't get you through against the major teams. So it's something that's one thing for the games in the future, near future, we've got to work on. I would say it was, Neil. Yeah, definitely. I would say that obviously down to that, as I said, if you look at the England game, we put so much into that, and then we had the Croatia game. Now we started off fine, but then once Croatia scored and went 1-0 up, they were pinging the ball around, doing a bit of keep ball, while our players will run themselves ragged trying to get the ball back off of them, and the desperation to get the ball back so it could create chances for themselves. And that's going to wear any team down, especially if you come off of the back of how much we put into the England game. So I would say that was certainly played a part in it. But the fact was, they were just a bit much better side. They were like us, a mirror image to England. We went out better set up against England, more organised, knew what we were doing, had a game plan, pulled it off. Whereas Croatia had the game plan, and we didn't pull it off. I wouldn't say that it was, for the simple reason, all right, it was in the fact of where it's going to be a really big player for us in the coming years. But in the lead up to the tournament, you've got to remember he's only played 3 games. He's only had 2 sub appearances, and his first start was against England. So he's never really it's not like he's been playing for us for the last 2 years. He's just broken into the side, if you see what I mean. But I'm sure we'll be doing a lot better with Gilmore in the side, obviously. I mean, that's another thing that people aren't taking into account here. In the first game, we had Tierney missing. That was a massive miss because he's one of our best players, without a shadow of a doubt. And then last night, we had Gilmore missing, who again is potentially going to be one of our best players, might become a real Scotland legend in the next 10 years, by the way things are looking. And so, you know, they're 2 massive blows. They are squad like us, if you see what I mean. So there's these things as well that people aren't factoring in. They're all people getting all upset and saying, "Oh, get rid of Steve Clarke" and all of that rubbish. I mean, I don't know what planet these people are living on. I mean, you live by your sword, you die by your sword. Everyone was saying, "Oh, great job, Steve Clarke against England" and all of that. Had a great game plan and everything like that. And then when they don't get the result against Croatia, all of a sudden it's a totally different kettle of fish. It's exactly the same as England, though. If you look at England, against Croatia, England were wonderful. They were brilliant. That's all that you had from pundits and press and all of that. And then we came up against England. All of a sudden, they went from heroes to zeros. And that's just like us. So it's sort of like it's just one of those things, really. I mean, definitely heading in the right direction. I mean, I'm thinking back to games when we were getting absolutely hammered by the likes of Russia and Belgium and all that about 3-4 years ago. Just that was just in the time of where Steve Clarke took over, but he showed up our defence a fair bit. Managed to get a system working where we can fit our two best players into the side, and Tierney and Robertson. So we've got young players to come in as well. So to expect us to be able to waltz out of this group in some way, I think just wishful thinking, really. I think the part of it is we had the Czech Republic in our Nations League games, where we beat them home and away. I'm not too sure. I couldn't tell you off the top of the head. It's a World Cup qualified anyway. I'm not sure if it's against... I'm not sure if it's against Denmark or Faroe Islands. I'm not too sure, but it's World Cup qualified anyway. I don't know if it's a double or triple header or anything like that. Something that's probably hit us as well, which I find now, because we've got the likes of Gilmore and Patterson, your young players coming through. We qualified through the Nations League, but all the Nation League games that you get now has taken away the benefit of having friendlies that don't mean anything, where you can just trial out a few new players, see what they're like, see if they're up to job and all of that. Which we've got a few players really that we could do that with, like Turnbull, David Turnbull at Celtic, the likes of, as I said, Patterson, Gilmore. So there's a few players there that, well, Gilmore we do sort of like know now after the England game that he's got what it takes at international level, but Turnbull and Patterson have not really had a chance yet. The chances will come in these in the coming months and all of that. Obviously, I'm pretty sure of that. The thing that we've got to do is we've got to find our formula of getting goals and not conceding at the moment, because we haven't got our out and out, what you would call regular goal scorer, if you know what I mean. Our top scorer is a midfielder, and that's where the majority of our goals, it came from midfield last night with Callum McGregor, who's a midfielder. Che Adams probably will be the option to play up front on his own with somebody feeding off him, like Ryan Christie or Ryan Fraser, somebody of that ilk. And maybe keeping Dykes on the bench, really, because I don't think Dykes and Adams really does it quite together for me. I would sooner prefer them go back to what served us well and got us to the finals, which is like sort of having one striker up front with our attacking midfielder sort of like playing in behind them and supporting them. It probably came across that way because obviously once it got into the situation that we're in, which was like 2-1 down and you're halfway through the second half, you need urgency then. You can't go stroking it about and wasting any time. That's when the crowd starts giving you the hurry up as well. So I suppose it's natural that when it got to that stage, they were having to go to the long ball. You see what I mean? If you look at how we started, though, it's all very well saying, "Oh, don't go for all this long ball and all of that." But if you look at the good start we got off to, that came about because of a long ball. If I remember rightly, we got the kick off, passed it back into about midway inside their own half, launched the long ball forward. Dykes went up for it, got beaten to it, and the defender headed it down for the corner. And that was it. We were on the front foot for about the first maybe 10 minutes of the game, or 15 minutes, something like that. And then when Croatia scored, they took over then. Our players were running around chasing shadows, really. You could see the room that Modric had, and that was our big downfall, plus not taking our chances when we got them, obviously, apart from the McGregor goal, if you see what I mean. I suppose the worrying thing is we're having all these shots at goal and things like that, which is all very well and good, but at the end of the day, the strikers aren't getting in a position in the box. They did against Czech Republic. Dykes had a really good chance that the keeper saved with his foot, that it should have been a goal. That one should have done. Just wasn't a cleanly hit enough shot, if you see what I mean. But that's the kind of chances that we're not really... I mean, the first goal that Croatia scored was a prime example of the one that we wouldn't really score. If that was Dykes in that position, I couldn't see him sort of getting a shot away with enough power to beat the goalkeeper like the Croatian player did. And that's just the difference between the sides, really. We desperately need a goal scorer, someone who knows where the back of the net is. I mean, Dykes now, he's got 15 games he's played and he's scored 2 goals. Shea Adams, 7 games, 2 goals. Obviously, a lot of Shea Adams' games have been off of the bench. He's come off of the bench maybe about 2-3 times. So it's just a sad fact where we just don't have the strikers at the moment. So to counter that, we've got to look to other ways of getting goals, which is what we've done in the run-up to the Serbia game, through the Serbia game, the playoff, and games after that, we were playing just with one striker with a supporting player like Christie and Fraser, which you could say worked a little bit better for us. But the fans were clamouring, no, we want 2 strikers, we want 2 strikers. You got 2 strikers, and it just didn't work. Didn't pay off. That's just the way it goes, really. But I don't see how fans can demand something, and then when it doesn't pay off, they would then want something else, or they're blaming the manager when it's something that all the fans are clamouring for, if you see what I mean. I know a lot of people were saying, like, why didn't they take such and such off, why didn't they take Dykes off and bring Kevin Nisbet on? All very well, but Kevin Nisbet's inexperienced as well. He's only got 4 caps, something like that. Scored a goal for us again and the friendly against Holland, but you know what I mean? He's not sort of like well versed at this level yet. He might be. We don't know that yet, though. But to expect him to come in and do something. Yeah, but then again, the lad, the Welsh player, Kiefer Moore, does a better job. And he plays for the same. He's in our championship side as well. So it's a similar sort of situation there. It's just where we are basically at the moment. I mean, obviously, we've got Lee Griffiths as well, but he's got his own mental issues to try and deal with and sort out, which is unfortunate. There's just nobody out there. There's nobody. I mean, that's not Clark's fault. Clark can only work with what he's got there and what's available to him. There is no hidden Scottish Gareth Bale hiding around out there, or Scottish Harry Kane, if you see what I mean. Which is unfortunate. It's just the way that it is, and it's sort of like how it's been for Scotland in past tournaments we might go into. We might have a really strong midfield, but the defence is a load of rubbish. It's just the way it's always sort of tend to be. No, there's nothing wrong with his effort. They all gave everything last night, but it just wasn't enough. If you see what I mean, it wasn't through lack of effort or anything like that. They ran themselves into the ground. You know what I mean? Even when they were 3-1 down with about 5 minutes to go, they were sprinting like mad to run and get the ball to take the throw in and all that, even though the game was gone. So the effort and endeavour was all there. It's just that facts are facts. We were playing a team that are World Cup runners-up 3 years ago. So I don't get all this angst and rage about us getting beaten. It's not rocket science to work out that the better team were Croatia. That's why they got to the World Cup's final and we never even qualified. We are building though. We're on the sort of like on a building side for the future, but you need the bricks to do it. And we haven't got the bricks to build a striker, a really meaningful strike force. I mean, that's where the problem lies. It's unfortunate, but what else can you do? There's nobody else out there, really. We looked at all options that there's open to us. So the only real way that I think is going back to one striker and attacking midfielder alongside them, like Ryan Christie, Ryan Fraser, like try and integrate David Turnbull into the side because I think he could do really well for us. A lot of people are saying go back to 4-4-2, but there again, that leaves you in the problem with us of how do you integrate Kieran Tierney and Andy Robertson in the same side. People saying play Kieran Tierney on the right, and doesn't he want that? Can he have him playing on the right when he's a left-footed player? Just doesn't. It's trying to shoehorn players into positions that weaken them, if you see what I mean. They complement themselves well in that position that they're in at the moment, Tierney and Robertson. I do see the point of wanting 4 across the middle and midfield. So that's why it makes sense to me to have a midfield consisting of, when he's back again, Gilmore, McGregor, maybe McTominay, and say Ryan Christie, or obviously John McGinn. You can't forget John McGinn as well. Because John McGinn, I think, needs to play further up the field because that's where he gets our goals from us. He scored 10 goals. He's our top striker. But that's him playing in a more advanced position. He was more of a not so advanced last night, which I would have rather seen him play in an advanced position because that's when he gets his goals for us. But it's one of those things where we didn't get the result. It was sore to take, but at the end of the day, we qualified for the first time in 23 years. So I can't see how anyone's saying that I want to get Clark out and all of that. It's just stupid, really. I mean, we've had enough of changing managers over the last few years. Anyway, we went through about, I don't know, in about the last 10 years, we went through about 5 managers or something like that. We've had, well, maybe 5 or 6. We've had Walter Smith. We've had Alex McLeish Part 1. We've had Craig Levine. We've had George Burley. We've had Gordon Strachan. We've had Alex McLeish Part 2. There you go, that's 6 already. And we've also had managers who came in for one game, like as an interim, while we were between managers, and Malky Mackay, and I think it was Billy Stark. And I think Tommy Burns, before he passed away, done it as well. So that's like 9 managers in total in about a dozen years or something like that. Just can't go changing managers like that anyway. And who would we get if we were to sack Clark? Oh yeah, definitely is. But at the moment, just like I find like the forum that I always post on Taunton Army message boards, it's a case of where don't go on there after a defeat because you get a lot of knee-jerk reaction posts coming out with all kinds of utter nonsense, if you know what I mean. I've done it before as well. I know I have. I went on there and posted some stuff, had a right go at slating and slagging a player off or something like that. And then afterwards, I thought I was a bit over the top there. Yeah, it's probably a good idea to steer clear of places like that and avoid putting up your thoughts and all of that, because the emotions are still raw, if you see what I mean. I mean, the simple fact of the matter was we got beat by World Cup semi-finalists. Don't care. People say, oh, we were at home and all of that. We were at home, but we didn't have a full stadium. It was only like 11 or 12,000 there. So it's not exactly an intimidating atmosphere. Well, like the fans that were there made a great deal of noise and all of that, but certainly not what a 50 odd thousand would have made it a real home advantage, if you see what I mean. So I don't sort of like buy into sort of all this, or we had a massive advantage being at home and all of that, because it wasn't really. It was only a quarter filled stadium. Unrealistic to know how good we are and all of that, and without jumping on the bandwagon of slating everybody because we couldn't beat the World Cup runners up. I don't see how anyone can come on and sort of like slag us off for losing a game against such a team, really. But pick themselves up. Hopefully, the players from this will take from the fact of I think there's a second round game which we could. There was rumours that if we had got through, we might have got that one of those games or where at Hampden. But obviously that's by the by now. But as I was about to say, the thing is with the I forgot what I was going to say now. Oh, it's gone. The thing is with this, that's what I was going to say. It's come back to me. The thing is, the way to look at it is that the players now know that they can do it. So the players that there's a young squad as well that we've got. So they'll be playing a lot of the core of the team, like your Robertson, Tierney, Gilmore, McTominay, probably Che Adams. They've all got sort of like a good maybe 8 to 10 years in front of them. We know they can gel and knit together and bring in other players as well in that time. So there's a lot of youngsters, like Patson's another one that will, I think, eventually find himself integrated into the side as well. So, and hopefully they can take this experience. A lot of them obviously will have been a great experience for them, and that will just make them hungrier for more, if you see what I mean. Might and obviously encourage even better performances out of us in these games when we've got our qualifiers and all that. I mean, there was a time a few years back when a lot of our best players were like, even for World Cup qualifiers, they were ducking out of squads, and then all of a sudden, like with injuries, and then all of a sudden they're playing the following weekend for the league clubs and all of that. Obviously, because around then we weren't really threatening to qualify for anything. I think that will change now as well. So that will definitely be a boost going forward. I think a lot of these players will be more up for games and won't be willing to pull out now, because we have got a bit of strength and depth there now as well. I mean, you just need to look at some of them, like Griffiths, as I mentioned, he wasn't selected for the squad because he's obviously his mental turmoil and all of that. There's one or two other players as well that people wanted to see in the squad, like Ryan Gold in Portugal, who was like, I think he was up there in top goals and assists for struggling Portuguese club. But obviously, though, they're talking about he'll move on to bigger things there and all of that. And a lot of clubs, Premier League clubs in England, other clubs in Portugal are looking at him as well. So a lot of people were saying that he should have been in the squad, but that didn't happen. So he might end up finding himself in the running for the World Cup qualifying matches as well. So there are sort of like players there. There's competitions for areas and all of that. Well, I think the home nations, I think, is a dead duck in terms of like you wouldn't be able to fit them in. There's just no way to fit in sort of like what home nations like about 3-4 fixtures. There's just nowhere on the calendar now that you've got, especially in COVID. Like now, when you get international breaks and having to fit in triple headers of matches, if you see what I mean, because they're behind schedule and all of that. So I don't see where it would fit in anyway. And England don't want part of that anyway. So it would be like it was maybe about, I think it was about 3-4 years ago. It was the Celtic Nations League. And there was Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and the Republic Island were in it. But remember, likely England said they didn't want to be in it. So that's the same sort of situation that you have sort of like now anyway. So I don't think it's really one that's really on the agenda, if you see what I mean. But I just hope that all the players that obviously were in part of this can take it on board and move on to the World Cup qualifiers and pull out the results there. And hopefully we'll be in the World Cup, although we haven't got off to the best of starts here. I think we really could have maybe and should have beaten Austria at Hampden, and that was only 2-2. Result away to Israel was disappointing. That was a 1-1 draw. Obviously, we hammered the Faroe Islands at home, so we're unbeaten. But you could say we maybe dropped potentially 4 points out of those games. But we'll see how we go on from here. But anyway, I hope you've all enjoyed these blogs. I'm going to get off and watch this afternoon game here. And thanks for watching all of my Euro vlogs. Hope you've enjoyed them all. I might do ones of merit set for the World Cup qualifiers when the World Cup qualifiers get underway. I'll be on to discuss Scotland's games, and no doubt I would have thought if we can get the time. Okay, so I'll say goodbye for now, okay? Thanks for everyone for popping in, having a chat and sharing your thoughts. Okay, bye for now.